And welcome into the Week 9 Waiver Show. I'm your host, Ian Power, joined as always by Matt Vitale, sometimes Frankie Santiago. We're here breaking down our big takeaways from Week 8, giving you the rundown on Week 9 waivers. But before we dive into all that, make sure to follow us on social media. Hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, so that way you know whenever new content comes out. And if you're enjoying the podcast, make sure to share it with all your friends, family, pets, inanimate objects, ghosts that live in the attic, that weird lady that hides inside the walls, everyone. Make sure to put us on for them so that way we get views and we can make more content for you guys.
Share us with the turkeys that the farmers cannot
use
because they've been scaled back Thanksgiving this year.
Frankie, take us away.
Well, guys, it happened. We were dreading the moment when, we would actually see two on a football field because of our undying love for Fitzpatrick, or at least mine.
It's the beard.
It went pretty much how I expected it to go, but maybe marginally better. 54.55 completion percentage on 12 of 22 passing, under 100 yards and 1 touchdown, which was very lucky that it didn't get picked. He squeezed it into tight coverage to Devontae Parker. Watching the game, I was not very enthused at what I saw. I am going to say he didn't throw any picks, but he only threw the ball 22 times. Granted, that may have been a result of the defense getting 4 turnovers, and I think it was either 2 or 3 of them going for pick sixes.
That's called the Goff effect.
Yeah, but Frankie, wouldn't technically throwing into a tight window where it almost got picked be considered an NFL caliber throw?
No, it was extremely lucky. I watched the play. It was gross.
I see how it is. Aaron Rodgers,
but
Tom Brady.
My end point here is, as I don't feel comfortable starting any Dolphins wide receivers, Dolphins tight ends. The only Dolphin I'm pretty much comfortable starting at this point is Myles Gaskin. Unless the matchup is very, very plus, where it's Devontae Parker's playing the Falcons, so you kind of have to start him.
If you're getting another really bad quarterback, are you comfortable starting their defense?
Yes.
God, Goff looked so bad.
I mean, Devontae Parker, clearly the one on that team. I mean,
yeah.
Was Jalen Ramsey out in that game? I
don't believe he was, no.
But
I believe he was on the field.
So I'm confusing him with someone else, but Devontae Parker, obviously the one on the team, 1 reception for 3 yards. Gesicki, probably the 2, maybe the 3 on that team. 1 reception, 8 yards. Not what you want to see. I mean, maybe he'll get more comfortable out there. I mean, this was his first start, so maybe we'll see him kind of have the Joe Burrow effect that we're seeing now, where he's going to go out there, he's going to feel more comfortable as he plays, he's going to go and ball out. I'm not saying he has the same ceiling, but he's going to. I hope that he looks better personally, but I who knows at this point.
Honestly, for me, I think this is kind of a better case scenario for Tua, because he got to walk into what should have been a very bad matchup for him. And he kind of got to skate out with an easy matchup because the defense kind of carried. And we saw this with a couple examples this week. It's hard to get production when all the production's coming from one side of the ball, that Ian will be talking about in a little bit. But, I mean, they didn't need him. He just got all of it done with their defense, pick sixes. He only had to, as you said, he only had to throw it 22 times. But I'm more interested to see him in a more balanced matchup where he's forced to utilize his skills. I think this is just one where he got in, he got out. This was like Big Ben a week or so ago, where they basically did everything on the ground with their defense, so Big Ben only threw it a couple of times. So I don't think we can glean too much from this. I think it's good that against such a good defense, he didn't turn the ball over. I think that's the biggest thing I was looking for. So
he actually did fumble it.
You did fumble. Okay.
There were a couple of passes I watched, because I watched the entire game because I wanted to see how he played. He got very lucky a few times.
Yeah, this isn't me saying great performance. This is me just saying I need more evidence.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp at this point. The return we've all been waiting for, hopefully in Week 9, Rule says he's optimistic that CMC might be able to go against the Chiefs, which obviously is a good sign for CMC owners. You don't have to, you're getting that big piece back on your team that you probably drafted first overall, if not top 3. I mean, he looked great to start the year. 97-38 on the ground, 2 touchdowns. 59-29 on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Mike Davis looked great for those first 3 games. Hasn't looked so great for these last 3. I mean, he's been serviceable. And I think I'm taking it with a grain of salt that they're saying that he's going to continue to be in that offense when CMC returns. I think it's going to be kind of how we're seeing the Titans use their backups behind Henry, where it's, he's coming off the field, he's getting a breather. Mike Davis isn't, because they're the way that that Davis has played is very similar to how they use CMC. And I think that it's not even a situation where it's like they use McNichols in Tennessee to, as that receiving back, where it's kind of actually almost a better situation where they play the exact same, so they don't really have to change up their play calling based on, if CMC is getting gassed. I mean, I'm ecstatic to see him come back on the field because, he is one of those electric players that can break a slate. And, he's a league winner if he can stay healthy, obviously.
Sure.
And the last thing, with all of the injuries happening to just a couple this week, Darrell Henderson, Kenny Galladay, George Kittle now, Calvin Ridley to a lesser extent. Aaron Jones is still missing time. And then we have that whole COVID situation. We don't know what's happening in Green Bay right now. But it's that time of the year where if you are one of those teams who is, battling for a playoff spot or even just, in that top section and you're you're getting ready for playoffs, losing one of these guys could just either bump you out of contention for that top spot, or it can honestly turn you from a bubble team to you're ended up in the lower bracket, not making the playoffs at all. And whether it's through trading or, picking some guy off the waiver wire and playing your luck there, I just think that it's important to have those big pieces. For example, not to get super league specific, in our league I have 3 RB1s. If one of those guys gets injured, say Aaron Jones goes down, which he hasn't played in 2 weeks, one Eckler gets back, I can slot him in there, and then I can flex another guy who's maybe obviously less of a ceiling player than Aaron Jones, but it's still getting me points, and I'm not sacrificing that 2 spot. I think it's just, again, a weird year. So having depth on your roster at this point in the year is going to be the difference between which teams in your league make the playoffs and which teams don't.
Sure. Yeah, the list of players that I heard you say, just to add to the high profile guys that are out: Galladay, hip week to week; Kittle, fractured foot, missing 8 weeks. Garoppolo's got a high ankle sprain, no timetable, so there's a downtick to his receivers. Tevin Coleman's hurt again. Jonathan Taylor's hurt, so it's just more attrition at the.
Tevin Coleman's hurt again.
Yep. Knee day to day, so just more attrition at the high level of talent. So yeah, it's getting rough out there.
Yeah.
I'll jump into mine next. Actually, speaking of Jonathan Taylor, as the resident Jonathan Taylor truther, I'm both relieved and sad to hear that his breakout season is being derailed due to injury and not due to him being a bust. Yay, he's not a bust, but it's because he's got a bum ankle apparently. So, a little give and take there. I'm happy, I'm sad. It's a real mixture of feelings. Just kind of 2020 in a nutshell. But given how good his schedule is, I'm still a believer. I'm here to tell you that he is still a good buy low option, because if he's going to get healthy, which you have to assume he's going to at some point, unless this is a more serious injury than Frank Reich has been letting on, if he gets healthy, he should be great for you down the stretch. And he's done almost nothing the last couple weeks, so you can probably get him for basically free. To pivot to a running back that has not been sucking and is the opposite of basically free, Dalvin Cook looks really good.
Yeah.
is this what peak Dalvin looks like? Like buck 63-3 on the ground, 63-1 through the air. Like he's trailing only King Henry in yards by about 125, and that's with him missing a game. Like it just seems like this guy can't be stopped. Like what? Like I know he hasn't gone against a ton of like real like world beater run defenses, but like a buck 63-3, that's huge. He's literally carrying the Vikings. I hope, especially with all of these injuries, that he can stay healthy to continue doing this because he's fun to watch. So knock on wood if you're a Dalvin manager.
Yeah, this game was this was kind of what I was alluding to before. It's like as someone who owns both of the Vikings wide receivers, I was really pissed to see him going out there and just eating because they didn't need to use their wide receivers because Dalvin was doing literally everything for the team.
Yeah.
And it's bringing back to just Dalvin himself. It's amazing to see a guy put up this stat line, especially in a season like this where our top performers are either lackluster or just missing.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised the Vikings went this way. I know that, it's a tough matchup. You want to get the win against, the Packers, a rival of your team, but they had just rested Dalvin because his usage was getting up there. He was getting a little nicked up. And then they come out, feed him 30 carries and however many through the air. It's like you're kind of putting all that rest to waste again, and we're still in the middle of the season. He's got a long way to go, and
I'm fine for it in this one. I mean, the Packers are who you're competing against if you're trying to make the playoffs. So it's like if you're not going to throw the kitchen sink at him in this one, when are you going to? Also,
the Packers. I mean, obviously Dalvin had the ceiling week, but the Packers do have the worst run defense in fantasy.
Right. I'm not saying you don't use, I see using him 20, 25 times on the ground and a few through the air, but, he's going to be, as we know, he's carrying this team. You got to use other weapons to take some pressure off of him, and because we know these legs have a hard limit, and eventually he's going to hit that if you're using him this much. And he won't, once again, be there for the playoffs. As Frankie said, you could be screwed because Dalvin Cook, burns you into the playoffs, maybe even get a bye spot, but then because he burns his way through the South, a la Civil War, and just kills you in the end because he's not there for the third time.
And then my last take here is just that Sunday night game. Can we just cancel the NFC East? How did that game not get flexed?
Yeah.
It was so bad.
I mean, tonight's game's going to be worse.
9-7 at halftime.
I think tonight's game's going to be worse.
At least someone's going to be scoring in tonight's game. I know the Eagles ended up putting up points on the Cowboys, but they couldn't figure it out in the first. It's like Carson Wentz was determined to show that actually, in fact, not everyone can score against the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, Baker Mayfield hung 49 on this team. Watch me hang 9. Why do we have to watch these games? Just show them in the local markets if even they want to watch them. Make them like the relegation league for the NFL, and just put a better, more deserving team into the play. I feel bad for the team that's going to miss the playoffs because the 5-11 Eagles made the playoffs in the NFC East, and then somebody gets a free win in the NFC playoffs now because they get to face the Eagles. The Eagles are like, we don't have any players. They're a high school team, but they're playing 3 other high school teams 5 times a year, and one of them has to make the playoffs. It's not like, they'll be bad, but they'll be shunted down to the bottom of the ladder because it's like, no, one of them is going to make the playoffs.
I think
at significantly below 500. Oh, it's infuriating to me. I hate it so much.
Whoever wins this division is going to have probably 6 wins.
It's not even like they're playing, there's no one even to root for on these teams. All the players suck. The Cowboys aren't fun to root for. Jerry's a vampire. The Eagles are idiots. Their medical staff is Civil War doctors. Another receiver went down. Get out the bone saw. The only team I even remotely care about is the Washington football team.
I was gonna say, you watch your mouth. Terry McLaurin's on that team.
I was literally, Ron Rivera, great guy. Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson, fun players, easy to root for. But then Dan Snyder is just this putrid pit of filth, this absolute dredges of humanity as their owner. and they only just now decided to change their name, and instead of changing it to something, they changed it to Washington Football Team, and now they're just sitting on it like they're punishing us for making them take away their racist name. Like, oh, I hate it all so much. There's not a single team I can root for here. All the players, for the most part, are trash. Like, just sink this division. Send them to the CFL. Give me, like, the Saskatchewan Roughriders or something. That's an actual team.
Yeah, I am well aware. But taking that to keeping it within the NFC and going to the division that's probably going to be missing somebody due to the fact that the NFC East gets a free in.
Actually, with 7 teams, everyone in the NFC West could make the playoffs.
Well, I don't think this team's going to anymore. The 49ers, woof. Like, we wanted to joke about, you joked about Tevin Coleman getting injured again. Basically, everyone that they start just got injured again. Like, Kittle, 8 weeks. Garoppolo, indefinite. Like, wow, is this bad? Like, they're at the point where I think they're just the shiny version of the Jets now.
They have way more talent than the Jets.
Yeah.
JaMychal Hasty is instantly the Jets' best running back. Brandon Ayuk is instantly their best wide receiver. Jordan Reed's their best tight end. I mean,
I think injured Jimmy
We
Garoppolo.
don't talk about Chris Herndon that way, okay? And we don't know how good the Jets are. They have a boulder hanging their value down. Like, man, talk about some of the worst luck you could have for this season. Like, they start off doing well, 4-4. Like, they didn't look. There was too much rust from the the Super Bowl hangover, especially on the losing side of that. Like,
wait, did you say too much rust or too much Russ?
Yeah,
because there was a little too much rust this past week too for them to do anything about that.
I just saw the list. It looked like they were just reading off an All-Pro team specifically coming from the Niners, like Richard Sherman, Bosa, like just all this talent coming down, and it's all gone. They've already won 4 games, so they're probably not getting a great pick in the first round. So if you're a Niners fan right now, you're like, cool, I get to watch a bad product every week. And I don't really get that much of a stud, guy coming onto my team next year. It's like, what is there to root for anymore? Like, you probably just don't want Kittle to come back, because if he does, it's just he's going to be playing the last 2 games of your season for nothing.
I mean, at least the Niners have a bright future outside of this season. All their players are going to come back healthy. They can win some Super Bowls down the road. Like, at least you're not the Cowboys or the Eagles.
There's some hope there. Like, fun stat that I saw, though, is the whole Dak's last fourth quarter that he played, he has still outscored the current Cowboys through all the games that he has missed.
Oh, you want to talk about fun stats? If we're going back to piling on the Jets, Patrick Mahomes had 5 touchdowns against them. The Jets have 4 passing touchdowns all season.
Yeah, I think
Patrick Mahomes outscored the Jets in 1 game.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. That's what happens when an MVP plays the Jets this year. They did pump him up a little bit for my taste, but I mean, that's what you do when he's the poster boy of the league.
What are your other 2 takes?
Yeah, moving on. Speaking of bad luck and some juju, Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he might be making a little resurgence. I know I've been the truther here. I will admit this. Well, hey, listen, you guys can sit on your Fitzpatrick love train. I will keep the Juju love train going. He is the future. Fitzpatrick's about to retire. Like, Juju through 2 weeks, he's been getting the targets. Deontay Johnson now has basically his own little gimmick. He's like, I'm just going to take a couple plays off, coach. Goes out with I believe it's either a calf or a thigh.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not even like it's the same thing over and over where they can maybe try and treat it and target. It's something new every game, and it's heartbreaking because he's such a good player. But Juju comes out, maybe 14 targets last week, 8 targets this week against good defenses. And then when you jump forward to his schedule he's got coming up, if Deontay's going to keep playing this ghost game of just dipping out for a few quarter or so, like, Juju's got a really good schedule coming up. Like, he's got Dallas, Cincy, Jacksonville. He's going back to Baltimore, who he's shown he can already produce against. Washington, Buffalo, Cincy, Indy. Like, there's only 2 matchups on there I think are even respectable defenses.
Indy and Baltimore.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, granted, Indy's in the playoffs in the championship game, but he could get you there, and you could trade for him and get as your wide receiver 3. So it's not like you're paying up for him. If he hasn't scored, so his points, if you're playing against a casual manager, in our league, it's 13-10. Like, nothing sexy. So you can easily buy this guy based on his putrid performances before. I mean, he started okay with a couple of touchdowns to buoy his points, and he's kind of picking it up now. If we see that volume going back his way, if we start seeing Big Ben airing it out against these terrible defenses, he could be a sneaky league winner. Like, he could be that guy who gives you that bottom end of the bench in a league where you're just, people are hemorrhaging players.
To be fair, in that Cowboys matchup, they're probably going to be running the ball a lot.
They can do whatever they want. They could have the running back. They could have James Conner throw it to their wide receivers. It doesn't matter.
Big Ben could be their running back.
We can't stop a paper bag, so...
You can stop the Eagles for a little bit.
No, Carson Wentz stopped the Eagles for a little bit.
Yeah, he was just playing, how long can I hold this ball?
What's your final take, Vitaly?
And finally, I talked about them last week. We now have more insight, both positive and negative news. So Teal Steel will not be their quarterback. It's going to be Jake Luton, the rookie. I have put it as interesting. This is going to be a tough schedule for them going forward. And with how bad Minshew is playing, I got to expect that this has to be at least on the same level. So I think you're either getting this or a little bit better out of your wide receivers. I think James Robinson should be able to do about the same because we know rookie quarterbacks, checkdowns. James Robinson's, I got a threat in the passing game, so I'm still interested in him. I'm interested to see where this goes, but I think I'm hoping for a couple of pop games for DJ Chark and then selling them, just sending him off to greener pastures, except it's not going to be greener for that owner I'm sending him to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with this team. Like I said, if at the end of the year, this kid just took over the job, wouldn't be surprised. If this kid just is a dumpster fire, also wouldn't be surprised. I want me to some Teal Steel back because he's fun to have in the league. He's just a fun player. But, yeah, this is a bad time to have the amount of muscle, the ligament and, hand damage he took and, I guess, played through.
I guess if there's an upside, if it is just injury-based, then you can expect the Jaguars to bring him back if they wanted to see... If they want to see what Minshew could give him, they probably didn't get a good look if he was like, yeah, I was playing without a hand. It was my throwing hand.
I feel kind of bad for him.
He was nubbing the ball out there.
I feel kind of bad for anybody who did pick him in the first round for that free beer.
You get free beer, so.
Yeah. Then whatever.
All right, let's jump over to the waiver section today. It's going to be a little bit shorter of a waiver section as we do get deeper into the season. The names start to dry up a little bit. Funnily enough, this week, most of the names are running backs. There are no quarterbacks this week. None. Hopefully you have your quarterback or you've identified some good streaming options because there are no waiver quarterbacks that came jumping out of the woodwork at you. All the quarterback surprises have been dealt with.
Yeah.
For running backs, we have J.K. Dobbins, 47% owned. DJ Dallas, 7.4% owned. Jermichael Hasty at 47.4, Damian Harris at 30.2, and Jordan Wilkins rounding out the list at 0.5. Of that grouping, I'd probably go Jermichael Hasty, Dobbins, Damian Harris, Dallas, and Wilkins. Reason being for me is that Dobbins looked legitimately good. I think that's what we've been hoping for since they drafted him. I wouldn't be shocked if Dobbins maintains a grip on at least some of that workload even after Ingram comes back, because before they just didn't, none of them look particularly effective.
Yeah, I've been high on Dobbins for a while. This is definitely the best he's looked.
Yeah, he's probably my number one if all these guys are available, because you know he's going to get work every week. They're in a run-heavy scheme. Number two behind him would probably be Jermichael Hasty for me, just because everyone's hurt.
Yeah.
Jarek's technically healthy right now, but he could hurt himself in the shower this week. So, Jermichael Hasty might just be, by rule of attrition, the last guy standing there. He's not a bad running back, and the 49ers are another run-heavy scheme, so he's going to at least get volume, if nothing else. And then after that, it's just kind of a crapshoot. I feel like Damian Harris seems like the guy, but the Patriots aren't good this year, so he's gonna get game scripted out sometimes, or the defense can be able to stack the box against him. DJ Dallas only has value. Chris Carson is not able to go because we know Pete Carroll is going to ram Chris Carson back in there as soon as he can stand on the football field. And then Jordan Wilkins only has value if Jonathan Taylor keeps getting hampered by this ankle. You know, if Taylor sits, then Jordan Wilkins is starting running back. But they've shown us they're gonna use Taylor if he's available.
Yeah, honestly, for me, I think the only thing that changed really is the top guys. I think I'd take Hasty over Dobbins just because Dobbins had the sexier week, so he's going to be the prime target for most people. But
Sure.
do remember, Gus Bus is their goal line guy, so his value is a little bit on the limited side because, you know, unless he's breaking off long runs, I could see them just doing what they did yesterday. If they get down the red zone, they're just going to punch in with Gus Bus or scheme something up for Lamar to scoop one in.
Fair. Frankie, any difference on your opinions on these guys from what Vitale and I said?
No, I'm pretty much in the same camp as both you guys for the most part.
Sure. And then for wide receivers, we have Marvin Jones, Corey Davis, Mike Williams, Braxton Berrios, and Denzel Mims. Marvin Jones, he's obvious here. You know, he's been kind of bad. I've seen him on plenty of waiver wires in leagues that I'm personally in. No one's been running him out there. He's going to inherit the starting role as Kenny Galladay. He's already guaranteed to miss next week, and he's expected to be week to week beyond that. So you're going to get a couple games out of Marvin Jones at least. The Lions have a nice throwing schedule at least for the next 2 weeks or so before it gets a little tougher. Corey Davis has looked like legit, like the wide receiver we all expected him to be like 3 years.
Yeah,
it's like he and AJ Brown are both getting volume in that offense. So for whatever reason, the Titans are throwing the ball, and apparently they can support two receivers. Is kind of what we're learning here.
Yeah, it's pretty much the opposite of what I expected to start the year. We were like, oh, how much is Tannehill going to throw the ball?
Yeah,
they're throwing the ball a lot, and if Corey Davis isn't on a team in your league for whatever reason, I think that he would, me personally, he would be my number one waiver pick for wide receivers.
Sure.
I mean, obviously Jones has always been kind of like the two. So he's gonna be fine, especially with Kenny missing time. But I don't see how Corey Davis isn't already rostered in every league.
And then Mike Williams, Braxton Berrios, and Denzel Mims are just Mike Williams until he gets hurt again. Mike Williams is always in play. He's either going to score you 0.5 or 50, and there's really no in between with him. He's a massive play receiver, so you just got to take good with the bad with him. And then Braxton Berrios and Denzel Mims are just. They're getting usage. Rashard Perriman and Jamison Crowder can't stay on the field. Someone has to catch the ball out there. It's not fun to throw them out there, but and then I actually it's being rumored that the Lions are looking at Mohamed Sanu for a short-term option to cover them while Kenny's healing up. If they decide to bring in Mohamed Sanu, I'm fine picking him up as a dart throw to see if he can work anything out with Stafford. If you really need a receiver, you can do worse.
I mean, I'm not anything close to a Corey Davis truther, and it does feel, especially since coming out of Frankie's mouth, it does feel like this is like Dawson Knox has a pop game, and you're just like, well, it's Dawson Knox. Clearly, he's the number one ad. So just like that's my temperament, just because of how much Corey Davis has been like this is Corey Davis this year. This is his year. This feels like he just popped for a game, and everyone's like, well, here we go. Start the train up, but then next week it's going to be just AJ Brown goes back to being the guy, and Davis is going to get you 3 points, and we're going to be like, we're sorry, we recommended Corey Davis, we won't do it again, and then he'll pop again. Like, start it back up.
Yeah, it feels like something you might have to be standing in front of a microphone issuing a pre-prepared apology, but. The waiver wire is kind of dry right now, so you might not have any other options. And then for tight end, it's Jordan Reed. End of list.
Yeah.
Jordan Reed is a capable tight end who performed very well in Kittle's absence earlier this season, and Kittle is out 8 weeks. For those keeping score at home, it is week 8. So Kittle is out for the rest of the season. So Jordan Reed is a tight end 1 for me rest of season until he gets hurt.
Yeah, that's who's throwing the ball in San Fran? Mullins?
Yes, Mullins for now.
I would say he's probably a tight end too.
I mean,
although tight end is a crapshoot, so maybe he is a tight end.
That's what I'm saying. It's like they're going to use the tight end position. San Fran's shown us they want to. Jordan Reed's talented, and Hayden Hurst is technically a tight end 1 right now.
Well,
so
okay, they want to use the tight end Because they have Kittle.
Well, no, they even used him. Like, he was getting a lot of work when Kittle was down earlier this year. The tight end is obviously part of their game plan. And Jordan Reed is talented enough to, turn in 5 catches for 50 yards and sometimes a touchdown. So I'm rolling him up there every week if I need to.
Yeah.
For me, he's a tight end too. End of discussion.
I'm curious, what 12 tight ends are you ranking over Jordan Reed rest of season that makes you say he's a tight end 2?
I will return with that next week.
All right, and then for defense this week, the hot streamer that you're going to want to be picking up is none other than the aptly named Washington football team. They get the Dallas Cowboys, who can't score points at all, even though they have Ezekiel Elliott and what should be the best wide receiver core in the league. So start the Washington defense against them, because DiNucci is probably going to turn it over, and they're going to score like 3 points against them.
Yeah, I do love how it's gone for me anyways. From, all right, who's playing the Jets this week, to, all right, I'm checking my team's schedule. Who do we got? Oh, we got Washington. Let me just go and add them.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm proud of.
But as we saw this past week, the Eagles, who don't have a great defense, just made Dallas look bad. Or I guess Dallas made Dallas look bad, and the Eagles happened to be playing them. But it doesn't really matter what defense you start against Dallas, because Dallas is going to forget their professional football players and sit over there playing Parcheesi or something. So go ahead, fire up your Washington football teams. You can laugh about how you're going to win a matchup with a team that doesn't have a name. Are there any waiver wire guys that you guys feel I left out that you guys want to bring up?
No, it's been pretty dry out there in pretty much every league I'm in, so no one's really shockingly out there.
We're not just talking about leagues you're in, Frankie. We're trying to provide information to the viewers.
It's a pretty good sample size, I'm
in like 2 leagues. It's a good sample.
My endpoint was that it's not. There's no names that we didn't cover that are really jumping out.
Sure.
At me.
I think the only one that's a flyer out there, and this is more so based on his performance / the fact that Taylor might be out. That's just Nyheim Hines. They clearly wanted to use him down the red zone, so he could be a sneaky ad for somebody who needs a running back play or a flex play. So I got lucky and I played roulette and got him. But I'm not sitting here like, well, now he's the guy. Like, I know if Taylor's there, Taylor should be the guy. It's just if Taylor's out for a week or so, he could be a sneaky play for you.
Fair enough. Okay, that'll do it for us today. Join us on Wednesday as we come back to you guys with our new buy low, sell high segment, as well as our starts of the week and money picks. And hopefully none of you get Monday Nightmared, except for you, Frankie.
Excuse me, sir. I already beat you this week.
You have a large sample size of leagues that you're in. I can hope that you get Monday Nightmare in some of the other ones.
All those matchups are already complete.
See you guys on Wednesday.